She's got sass, class, style, and pizzazz.
I am shocked. And do any of these girls ever call and say thank you?
No one says entertainment better than Bette Midler.
I've sold a lot of tickets in my life. I've put a lot of butts in the seats.
The divine Miss M.
Look, this is my impersonation of Jane Pauley.
Today from 30 Rockefeller Plaza on The Jane Pauley Show. Good news. Bette Midler is in the house. Bette Midler is the ultimate performer, the kind you thought they didn't make anymore, and actually they only ever did make one. Her range as an entertainer is unique, singing, acting, and making us laugh, often all at the same time. I take a borrowed pride in knowing that a woman of my generation is not only still kicking, but her Kiss My Brass tour is the highest grossing tour of the year.
Most of my creativity I really do put into my shows. I wanted to have a show that was absolutely extraordinarily beautiful. I like colors, I like light, I like dance. I love sets, I love set design, and I love people who do it, and I love people who make costumes. I love all that stuff. I'm a real theater nut. I just want to give people the same thrill that I had when I was a kid. I love rock and roll. I love all kinds of music. I mean, I'm really a show business, you know, I'm just like a junkie for it.
Did you ever know that you're my hero?
I like singing the big hits. I love the reaction when Wind Beneath My Wings starts. It's just fantastic. If I didn't have any idea how happy I made people, I wouldn't do this. It's a lot of hard work. I have a lot of great people around me, but still, ultimately, it comes down to me. And it really is a big, big thrill for me to see their smiling faces.
I want to sound like that man.
Please welcome Bette Midler. Bette Midler, you are such a star.
Oh, my.
And you look great. She does.
I do, don't I? Even I don't know how I do it.
You're going out on a 28-city tour.
I am.
A little bit later, I'll ask you if it's okay if I mention your age is 58. But in any event, you're going out on a 28-city tour. Why do you do it?
Well, what else am I going to do after menopause? I mean, really, I have 3 states of being: hot, cold, or pissed off. Hot, cold, that's what I have to work with.
Well, you've never been in menopause before.
I've never been in menopause before.
Actually,
And now I'm past menopause.
Hey, hi.
Good luck to everybody who's past menopause. It was brutal.
We're thick with them. You know what? I think it's kind of great on the other side.
On
Seriously.
the other side, yeah, it's fine.
Don't you?
But those few years going through it, man, that was brutal, brutal.
Yeah.
Because they never tell you, you know, and you have to call everybody, and you have to read every book, and you have to speak to every doctor, and you have to get online and do the chat rooms and everything, so I got through it.
Well, I mean, we didn't plan to talk about menopause in the first segment of the show.
I can hear hundreds and hundreds of...
No, they're calling their friends.
Oh, they are?
Oh, sure, yeah. Oh, do, please. Seriously, though, you have said it's been a cloudy couple of years, and I hope coming to my show will be an optimistic act.
Yes.
How could it be otherwise? But what did you mean?
Well, I meant really just what I said. You know, it's been a really dark time. Last few years have been really, really rough for people. And I think of myself as a kind of a, well, as a kind of an antidote to that, you know, just a little chance to take a little vacation from the cares and the worries of life. You know, typically in times of stress, people like to be entertained because they want to get away from it for a while. And I kind of feel like that's what I do. My husband's very kind to me. My husband says wonderful things about me. He says that the laughter is really healing. And I think that's true, because when I get into it, have a fit of laughter, I always feel enormously better.
Do you know, I spent, I don't know, 90 minutes or so with you last night, and watching Divine Madness, and couldn't believe it was 20 years old. And my sister made the observation. She said, it's amazing, watching Bette Midler perform, you always have to ask, what year was that? Because you can never tell. How do you do that?
I really don't know. I really don't know. I think it's the Lipitor. No. You know what? I think I'm very lucky, because I have a lot of energy. I don't know where it came from. I think it's genetic. Everybody in my family is a very speedy kind of person. And we run around, we do a lot, we take a lot of burdens on, and we sort of like shrug them off when things don't go well. And we have a kind of a sunny disposition that's with underpinnings of great grief. And I don't know why, but somehow it works for us.
Wait, you said once something about in your real life, you're always just this far from tears, or something like that.
People, you know, it's funny how many people have brought that to my mind, brought that up to me. Someone else that was interviewing me last week said to me, you said this, and I said, I did? I must have been having I must have been in menopause. Because, well, it's actually, that is true. And I think it has to do with sensitivity. Some people are hypersensitive, and I think I'm just one of them. I think it goes along with that metabolism that I have. Just a little bit. You tend to empathize. Too much empathy, maybe. You know, sometimes I can't even read the paper without just bursting into tears.
Yeah, well,
really.
Seriously, wherever that great, that love, and you are so generous when you are on stage. I mean, you are full out. You are stretching the limits of human stamina, and it's clear you're doing it for an. You're doing it for your
I'm enjoying this.
You give with no reserves.
Well, I'm a giver. What can I say?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you something. The ticket prices are not cheap, and I always feel like, oh my God, they're going to rush the stage and, and attack me if I don't give them their money's worth. So I do. I try to put on the best show I can, and every night it's a challenge. But it's a challenge that it's kind of like, that's kind of the art form. The art form is to see how far you can take them and how much you can get them to laugh. That's the project. Do you understand?
Well, I understand how you do it.
Yeah.
Do you know, as I said earlier, your tour is the top grossing tour of the year. Is that, in your experience, kind of same old with you, or is this a first?
No, it's not a first. I've been very fortunate. I've sold a lot of tickets in my life. I've sold a lot of tickets. I've put a lot of butts in the seats. I'm very proud of that. And they're not twitchers either. They sit and they're mesmerized. You try to mesmerize. Try to fascinate. That's what my husband always says. Try to fascinate, Don. Yes, so I do try to do that, and they like it. They like the fact that they know when they come in, they sit down in their seat, they're going to be taken on a little journey, and they're not, they love the surprises that happen.
When you say they and they love, it's because they have been there before. They have probably been
Often.
20 years,
yes.
And then they find you because your fans are incredibly loyal. They really, really are. But. And as I said, I take pride that a member of my generation is still able to do what you are able to do, but you look out on us as we have changed. Are we starting to scare you a little bit?
You know what? Yes and no, a little bit. The people who are in the front are really well-heeled. And you think, well, they made it. They made it. They're the ones who made it. They'll do anything. They'll lie, cheat, have sex with people they can't stand to get up front. They've figured out the way the system works. The rest of them, as you go back and back and back, you can see And the younger kids come. The younger kids come, but they're not so visible because they're really in the cheap seats, you know. And I'm really happy to get them. This time, if by some freak of nature we don't sell as many seats as we ought to, we're going to go to the colleges and we're going to bring some of them in too, because I really do like the idea that you get to. I feel that life is not segregated in any way. I feel that old people and young people should be together, because young people can learn things from older people, and older people can get a lot of oomph from younger people. I think and sometimes in our life, in our world, in the American world, you know, once you're 45, they kind of like try to get you out the door, which is a shame, because all that wisdom that people have accumulated over all those years is lost. And that's a damn shame.
And do you consider yourself one of those older people you were talking about yet?
Me? No, I'm only 38. Yeah. I'm dreading 39, just dreading it.
What did you think your career would be at this point in your
I never saw this far.
Decade?
I never saw this far. I really never saw the end in sight. And you know, eventually you do have to say, if I'm not going to die on the stage, I had better make my move. Really, I mean, because people do that. People do just collapse on the stage. I don't want that to happen to me. I would like to go, I'm not up to the gig, I'm going to say, you know, so long. And the name of my show, my last show, will probably be Midler on the Hoof.
Okay. Bette's characters are bold, they're brassy, they're busty, and sometimes have tails with scales. Next. She's been called flashy, trashy, divine, one-of-a-kind, bawdy, hilarious, poignant, dynamic, and most often, outrageous.
People are always trying to clean you up. You know, as soon as you get to a certain level, oh, you got to clean yourself up because the mainstream won't like you. Well, the truth is that the mainstream harbors in its little soul the danger. They used to call it going slumming. And they like that. People like that. And it's, you know, it's really non-threatening. It's not threatening, but it's a lot of fun, especially if it's done with a certain amount of whimsy. So that's what we do. There's the divine who doesn't give a darn about anything. You know, she's very devil-may-care, very reckless and outrageous.
How old a woman would you say I was? Isn't it terrible how once you reach 30, your body decides it wants a life of its own?
And then there's Soph, who has taken advantage of the fact that she's really old and will say whatever she damn well feels like saying.
Father Gray said, now if you are sick and you wish to be healed, put one hand upon the radio and the other hand upon that part of your body you wish to heal. Well, I said to him, Ernie, darling, he is only trying to heal the sick. He is not trying to raise the dead.
And then there's Dolores, who's really a monster, just a show business monster.
What it's like not to be left alone.
And she had the bad luck to be born a mermaid.
I can tell, I can feel, you are love, you are really, really mine. Hey, I'm a hit.
Now you've got to top yourself, because you're going on the road with a new show, and what does a middle-aged woman do to be outrageous?
I'm just doing what I'm doing. You know, outrageousness, when I first started doing this work, I call it, sounds like I'm, you know, like some kind of a salvation project. When I first started working, when I was considered incredibly outrageous, and now, I mean, my work is benign, quaint, Hallmark card almost. I mean, the line of outrageousness has gone so far, and it keeps changing, and people keep crossing it. I mean, I can remember when being videotaped, performing a sex act, and then releasing it on the internet for the entire world to see at any time, in any place, in your home, in your office, in your tent, was considered, you know, that was like you were dead. Now it's a career move. Yeah. I watch MTV, and I am shocked. I am shocked. I was once so outrageous. I mean, I saw Lil' Kim prancing around in pasties and a G-string. Pasties and a G-string. And do any of these girls ever call and say thank you? Do any of them ever write?
I mean, do they?
No. I mean, I opened the door for trashy singers with bad taste.
Open the door.
I feel that they owe me, big time.
You know, you call yourself, you use a word that you don't see too much anymore. I don't know if the young people know what it is, but you're a self-described broad.
I'm a broad. Oh, I love that word so much, so much. So, yeah, that's a word that they don't use too much anymore.
Not so much. What is the definition?
A broad is someone who's been around the block, who knows how it works, and has a really good sense of humor about it, who lets stuff roll off their back, doesn't take life too seriously, has a good time, but knows what's important, I think. And I think the thing that distinguishes a broad from other people, from regular other, is their sense of humor. They just think it's just a riot. The whole thing is just a riot. They can get down, but they always come back up.
Okay, there's you and who else?
Oh, that's not true. There's lots of other people. I mean, in real life, there's plenty of broads, because I meet them all the time.
Yeah,
and they're
but...
kind of a little feisty, they're loudmouth, they're independent, they're spirited. They're spirited. Spirited. You're not beaten down. You know?
do travel in a unique circle of
I do.
alter egos.
I'm in a bubble.
I'm talking about your characters,
Yes.
all of whom are broads.
Yes, they're broads.
Are they all a side of you?
They are. Yes, they are. But they, you know, they're sometimes they go on hiatus. You know, sometimes they take a little nap.
Are any of them nearby?
No, not right now. Because look, I can't. This is my impersonation of Jane Pauley. Oh my God. I have round-toed shoes. I'm quicker than you. I'm wearing my round-toed shoes.
You were much hipper
You're
because
very unfashionable, Jane.
Well,
You're wearing
I know.
pointy-toed
I'm wearing
shoes.
pointy-toed shoes.
Unacceptable.
Yeah.
Round toes, round toes.
Yeah, your memo was incomplete. Can I tell them what you said about me before, that you made my life?
Somebody came up to me yesterday and said, "Oh, you're doing the Jane Pauley show. I'm so excited for you. You know, she's hilarious. She used to be a stand-up comic." I said,
What? She said that. She said to me, did you used to be a stand-up comic?
And she went off.
I can retire. Yeah, well, I haven't. I haven't. But I love when people laugh at my jokes. But when they don't laugh at my jokes, and I hear that silence more often than you do.
No. I hear that silence too. Everybody hears that silence.
Do you know how hard it is to explain to the uninitiated why Dolores Delago, the Toast of Chicago, is a mermaid?
Well, you know, that was like some kind of pipe dream I had. I don't know what possessed me. I had this character that I used to do called Vicky Edie, who was kind of a cross between Vicky and Edie. And, you know, the kind of singer, you know, that kind of you know, the singer that flourished in the late 50s and early 60s. I always had a real compassion and love for those kind of women. And
there she is. That's Dolores.
Yeah, that's Dolores. Well, she
okay.
kind of because Vicky Edie got so crazy that I eventually had to put her in a fishtail because she was so insane, and there was nowhere I could go with her. I couldn't go any further with her. I had to put her in a fishtail. And of course, because she was a mermaid, I didn't want to hop for the whole. I didn't want to hop for the whole 20 minutes, which the sketch took. So I put her in a wheelchair so she'd be mobile. And then we kind of, well, then she got sisters. She got a family because she couldn't be there all by herself, you know. Then she got a family. Then she got friends. And there was one point where we had a kick line of nothing but mermaids, and that I think was her finest hour.
Is Dolores?
But the thing that's so hilarious is that in a few years I've got like 8 wheelchairs. I don't need to go down to the store to get one. I got them.
Oh, is Dolores going on the road with you?
Of course she's going on the road with me.
Yes.
Of course, we always bring Dolores. But I have to say, she's really silly this year. She's doing a Broadway show. She's really silly. So, of course, we're doing we're doing all Broadway parodies. Don't tell anybody. And one of the great parodies that we're doing is All That Shad. We're doing basically All That Jazz, right? We're doing a fish parody called All That Shad, which is, you know, it has a little bit of that Bob Fosse thing going with it. So that was really hard.
Well, you still got to top the clamshell.
Oh, that was priceless. That was Joe Layton, a director I met very early in life, and he was brilliant guy.
That's the clamshell.
Yeah.
Listen, behind the sequins and the sparkle and sass is the real Bet. You'll be leaving, and the real Bet will be coming next.
the real me is the one who's, you know, just this far away from tears all the time.
One of Bette's best friends says Bette is a shy woman who prefers cardigans and jeans to plunging bust lines, and that one of her favorite expressions is, "That's unseemly."
That's unacceptable.
Is it?
Yes.
This is true?
Well, you know, I think I was brought up in a more genteel time. And I think that
But you escaped.
I escaped. And I did it on purpose. I did it on purpose because it was too genteel for me. But unfortunately, the entire world of gentility kind of crumbled, you know, and now I kind of miss it. You know, I miss it because that's what I grew up with, you know. You're always rebelling against what you grew up with.
It's not a big secret to your fans that you have these two personas. I mean, they're in on the reality.
Yeah. Well, I was very careful when I started all this because I thought that to be on all the time would be very wearing. I mean, just to do it for 2 hours a night was really exhausting. And I thought to be that way, you know, your entire life, I would never survive. I mean, as a human soul, you would never survive. So I compartmentalized them. I could do what I do on the stage, and then when I come off, I could let my hair down and be just, you know, that same old bookish person that I always was.
I'm tempted to say me too, even though we've lived very different lives, but I kind of made the same choice. You see some of the young girls on the cover of People magazine, for instance, and they seem to be living the persona 24/7.
And I don't think it's good for them. I think it's starting to tell on some of them. You know, they're starting to believe their own press, and there's a certain amount of discipline that you have to last. I hate to sound like an old curmudgeon, but you don't. A career takes place over a long period of time. And in order to survive and to make it to the end of the line, you have to have a certain amount of personal discipline in order to do that. And you can't really be as outrageous as I'm talking in your personal life, because you get sick, your body wears out, you get really you know, you start to gain tremendous amounts of weight, you wind up in rehab.
I feel like you're looking at me like I'm Britney Spears and you're trying to tell me something.
Well, no, but if she were here, I would tell her the same thing, and I would say, you know, you're going to plunge, and you know, I mean, it's sad.
You hope not, but human beings are only so strong.
I really like her. I think she's probably a great kid. She's a great kid, but she's a kid, you know, and that's probably part of it too. I think she's probably been in show business her whole life, and that's probably all she knows.
Well, she got married in Las Vegas just like you did.
Just like me, but my marriage lasted 20 years. Hers lasted 20 minutes. That's discipline. That's discipline.
You got married in front of an Elvis impersonator in Las Vegas.
I did.
Okay.
He's probably still swiveling them hips.
Yeah, could we talk about motherhood?
Oh, certainly, I'd love to. I have the best child in the whole world. I know you all think your children are fabulous, but mine is better than anybody's.
Well, she's not a baby anymore.
No, she's not. She's a great big girl. She's in college now. And we put her in, we drove her up and put her in college and, you know, did all the thing. My husband did put the computer in and I hung the clothes and we huffed and puffed up the stairs. It was very exciting. I was so tired at the end of that day.
It's gotta be hard, or maybe it's sublime, but she doesn't look at all like her father.
She looks a little bit like her dad. She does.
I think she
does.
looks...
She has her dad's family knows. She has that.
All right, but I think she looks like Bette Midler's daughter.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You know, how curious is she about your career?
She used to ask me a lot of questions about drugs. I remember that. And I always said I never did any drugs. I never did drugs. That used to really burn her up because she thought, you know, she said, "Why are you lying?" And I would say, and I said, "That's my story and I'm sticking to it." And I stuck to it. I never did them. Gone fun it, and you're not either. And that's how it was.
In a moment, some of Bette's favorite moments and ours. Next. I'm pretty comfortable saying I know where you were the night of May 22nd, 1992. Because 55 million of us tuned in to say goodbye to Johnny Carson when he left The Tonight Show after 30 years. In a night charged with emotion, it was Bette Midler who brought the audience and Johnny to tears.
For all of the years, for the laughs, for the tears, for the class that you showed, make it one for my baby and one more for the road that long, long road.
Thank you, Bette. Oh.
Oh, in a career of highlights, where does that one rank?
I think that has to be right. I think that's probably #1. That was a great, great evening.
What was
Great,
it?
great
I know
evening.
how it was great for me, but how was it great for you?
Well, you know, he really gave me my start in a funny way. He had me on his show many, many times in the 70s, and I never expected to get that far, and I was always so grateful to him. And he really saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself.
Which was?
Which was that I could go all the way. I didn't really believe. I mean, I believed it to a little bit, but he really shored me up, and he really gave me a lot of confidence that I didn't. I was very insecure, and he gave me much more confidence than I had ever experienced before.
But he picked you.
He did.
Of everybody, he picked
basically
you.
picked me. Yes, he picked me for this evening, and I just can't get over it. When I look back on it in retrospect, it seems like such a generous thing to do. And to this day, of all, you know, the idea that out of all the people that he had to choose from, he chose me is really staggering. I think
but it
probably
was
because
smart. He chose right.
I think that's true.
We all remember
I think
that.
that's true. I mean, for my own sake, but I think it's actually, it still has the quality of a dream. It has the quality of a dream. I mean, we all went into it, and Robin was on that show too, and he feels the same way. That we knew what an important event it was in the psyche of the nation, because people were so attached to him.
Yeah, we're waiting for Johnny to come back.
I know, we all love him.
We should tell him.
Oh,
Okay.
well.
What's next on your list of personal highlights?
Well, I think when I had a wonderful time making the movie The Rose. Just a fantastic, fantastic time making that. And it was the first time. It was the first time I had a speaking part in a movie, and it was a great big part with a lot of responsibility, and you know, people paying attention to what it was that you thought the character was about. And
Oscar nomination.
Oscar nomination. That was also very exciting.
The character was inspired by the life of Janis Joplin.
Yeah, inspired by, but it wasn't a real sketch of her. It was just the scent of it, because I was very nervous about that. I was a big fan of hers, and
I was wondering if she'd be kind of a kindred spirit of yours.
Well, you know what? When I saw her, it really literally changed my life, because up until that time, you didn't see people like that. You never saw people just so energetic and so much of a life force behaving that way on the stage. I came from a place where people simply. I had no money. When performers came to my town, I didn't have the money to go see James Brown or to see Elvis or any of those people. So what I got, I only got from television or from the movies. And I had never seen anything like her before. And the day after I saw her, and I remember so vividly sitting in the Fillmore East, I was in the balcony, and people were stamping their feet, and I really literally thought the balcony was going to collapse. I had never been in a house where the whole thing was shaking with this energy. And the next day I was in a show. The next day I ran onto the stage, and I fell. I sprained my ankle, and I was out of the show for a week, because I was so you know, devastated by what I had seen.
you know, that night, seeing her perform.
But do you know what's going to happen tomorrow? I'm going to run out in the studio. I'm going to fall down and break my ankle.
Oh, no, that'll be the pothole, Jane.
All right, now, we have to get to what I know is third on your list because everybody here loves the song so much. From the movie Beaches.
Yes, yes. That was a tremendous experience. That was a great experience. You know, I had a lot of fun. A lot of fun on that one. That was probably the happiest of my film experiences. I had a wonderful director, Gary Marshall, and my partner, Bonnie Bruckheimer, and I produced it. And Mary Agnes Donahue was the writer. And it was one of those things where the stars were all in alignment, you know. The songs were terrific. The characters were you know, wry and witty, and Barbara Hershey was fantastic to work with. It was really a blessed experience.
The song, The Wind Beneath My Wings, you must have performed it hundreds or more times?
Oh,
hundreds
many.
times?
Oh, at least hundreds of times.
Hundreds and hundreds of times, maybe.
Yeah.
But you know which performance New Yorkers like me will never forget.
Oh.
Did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I would like to be. I can fly higher than an eagle. For you, you are the wind beneath my wings. Thank you, New York City!
Never saw that.
Bette is saying that she had never seen that. I want you to find it and see the whole thing.
Oh.
I remember it. Of course, we were all, it was September 23rd, 2001, and we were pretty raw, and this was a coming together kind of ceremony at Yankee Stadium, and you sang, while the rest of us were sobbing, you sang a long, emotional song, and I didn't know that you would get through it. You did not only get through it, you soared through it. And then when you stopped singing, it was obviously you were feeling every emotion the rest of us were feeling all along, and I don't know how you did that.
I don't either. I don't either. That was such a terrible, terrible time. But I was so, you know, I had so much pent-up emotion, and I was so happy to have a chance to release it. I was so happy to have the opportunity to take part, to participate in the aftermath of that. I mean, because a lot of people didn't get to, you know, and
To give something, to do something, to do something that mattered.
something that, that made some sense and that helped, even in the littlest way. I was so grateful. It was really healing for me too.
Well,
And we're
that's
still
why,
pretty raw, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. That's why we need more Bette Midler. Bette's fans are incredibly loyal, and the feeling is pretty mutual, as you'll see next.
You're everything I would like to be. I can fly higher than an eagle. For you, you are the wind beneath my wings.
Bette, how do you know if, when a fan is approaching?
Because their eyes light up. And they think, I got her. You know?
And then what do you do?
And then, well, I can see it, and sometimes I kind of like, I try to duck. Well, sometimes it depends on what frame of mind you're in. If you've had too much coffee, you try to duck. If you're feeling okay, you know, and everything's right with the world, then you're it's hail fellow well met. You're happy to see them. But celebrities, they have moods and problems and burdens just like everybody else does. And sometimes fans catch them at the wrong moment. I had a guy, one time I was in my home in Laguna Beach, and I was minding my own business. I'm puttering around the house as I often do, you know, cleaning the bookshelves. And there was a knock on the door, and I didn't know very many people in Laguna, so I couldn't imagine who it was. So I went to the door, and there was this fan, and he was obviously like out of his mind. And he had a bouquet of flowers, and he thrust them at me, and he said, "Bathhouse Betty!" And I went, "Ah, And I slammed the door, and I thought, oh, my God, I've got a stalker. He knows where I live. And I ran, and I called the cops, and the cops came, and blah, blah. He ran away. And then I thought to myself, what a creep. But what a good title. And I named my album that. I named my album Betty, because I thought, oh, that's very smart.
All right.
My fans are very smart.
Yeah, if you go way back with Bet, you know, the bathhouse is where your career really was born here in New York City with your accompanist,
Barry Manilow.
Barry Manilow.
Yeah.
What brought you and Barry Manilow back together after some years of estrangement, I believe?
Barry called me and he said, I had a dream. I said, Barry Manilow is calling, my assistant said, Barry Manilow is calling. I said, Barry Manilow is calling me out of the clear blue. What the heck is this about? And I picked up the phone and he said, I had a dream. He actually said that. I had a dream about us, baby. Okay, and it turned out
She sang.
It turned out he had a dream that he and I made a record in honor of a good friend of ours, Rosemary Clooney. And we went into the studio like a month and a half after that. We made a fabulous album called The Rosemary Clooney Songbook, and it came out last year, and it's been going pretty good ever since then. And I sing these songs. I just love to sing those songs.
Favorite song from the CD?
I love Tenderly. I love Come Out of My House. I love This Old House. This Old House. I love This Old House.
Remind me, how did that
This
go?
Old House. Oh, you are cheap, girl, cheap.
When we come back, Bet rolls up her sleeves, gets dirty.
All the time.
During Bette's 28th city tour, she's be spending several nights right across the street from me here at Radio City, in the city that you've been trying to improve ever since you declared yourself a resident. You've been in New York City
10 years, last 10 years.
10 years, because people think, you know, well, she's be Hollywood, and of course you were born in Hawaii. And, do you kind of think of New York as home now?
Yeah, of course I do. My daughter's going to school not too far away, and we have a nice house here, and we're in. We put down roots. We've met a lot of people here in town, and we have a lot of friends here, and we really like it. It's a town that's full of excitement and full of joy.
And trash.
And trash. That's not trash.
Full of
but
trash.
those are the out-of-towners that are doing that. Those are not New Yorkers.
Okay. Now, why did I say something so insulting about a city that I too love? But you've been involved, you actually are founder of the restoration?
The New York Restoration Project. We may be changing the name soon because we're not sure it's marketable. But it's a foundation that I started about 10 years ago with the help of someone from Los Angeles. And what we do is pick up garbage in abandoned parks, neglected parks, and abandoned public spaces. And we're mostly in neighborhoods that are underserved, where the Parks Department doesn't have the forces to go into. And we also bought 55 community gardens about 4 years ago, so we have community gardens as well. And this year, we opened the first boathouse on the Harlem River in over 100 years.
That is amazing.
So that is amazing, and that is amazing. That is amazing. And this boathouse, we built it because we want to bring recreation back to the Harlem River. In the 19th century, the Harlem River had hundreds and hundreds of boathouses, and people rowed, and people swam, and people... This is the boat, that was a picture of the boathouse floating. We floated it from Norwalk, Connecticut, on a barge, across the Long Island Sound, down the East River, around the Hudson River, over the Narrows, and then down into the
Do you know,
River.
watching you and listening...
Look at it.
I
It's
see that.
fabulous.
It's watching and listening to you talk about this, though, I mean, you are just that stamina, that energy that you were talking about before is
It
just...
is crazy.
Yeah, I'm almost getting some of it over here.
I'm sorry.
You are my idea of a good citizen.
Well, I try to be. You know, I try to be. I love my country. I feel responsibility. You know, I mean, I think that's kind of what you're supposed to do as a human being and as a member of society. You are supposed to take on certain responsibilities. And I just happen to pick garbage because you know, all the celebrities have their little, you know, they all have their charities, and garbage was open.
Yeah,
so
it was
I
taken.
said, I'll do garbage.
It's that
I'll do garbage. Nobody wanted it.
I think that's cleaning gene.
What?
It's your cleaning gene,
Well-
writ large. The view from the top, what's it like? We'll ask Bette next. Bette Midler, you do the kind of act that somehow persuades me from the opening orchestra number that I should be on the stage with you, and that you're going to stop and say, "Ladies and gentlemen, Jane Pauley is with us. She's in the house." Come on, you know.
I've been tempted many, many times. I've been tempted. I like to see you make a little fool out of yourself.
Yeah. What do you do? What are you doing to get ready for what has to be a grueling 28-city tour?
I'm rehearsing and I'm running and I'm having fittings and I'm getting my hair colored and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah. You were said somewhere where you haven't had your wind back, and I thought, where's your wind?
Oh, you have to get your wind back. You have to get. I have to get on the treadmill and run 2 miles a day, or else I can't sustain it. My lungs just stop working. They just that's enough. We're not moving. And singing is really wind, you know, sound on wind. So you have to get those bellows going.
So where are you gonna? You're taking your show on the road first.
Taking my show on the road to Manchester, New Hampshire, September 30th. I start in the city, the town, the state. That's what it's called. A state. Live free or die. That's where I'll be in Manhattan. I'll be in New Hampshire with 6 traffic lights. Manchester.
And they'll have. I'll bet they have fall already. Autumn leaves.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to it.
I'd be looking forward to that too.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you tremendous.
Are you going to come down and sing Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy with me?
Yes, we'll have to rehearse right now. Seriously?
He was a famous trumpet man from out Chicago way. Read my lips. Had a favorite guitar that no one else could play. He was the top man at his craft. But then his number came up and he was born in the draft. He's in the army now. He's going reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B. They made him blow a bugle for his Uncle Sam. Important. Really had it down because he could not jam. The captain seemed to understand, because the next day the cap went out and drafted a band, and now the company jumps when he plays reveille. He's the boogie woogie bugle boy of Company B.
To Bette Midler today. She's back on tour. Tickets are on sale now for Kiss My Brass. And for more information on today's show, visit our website, thejanepauleyshow.com. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Media. Oh, I get it.